All right, let's jump straight into a really uncomfortable paradox facing digital creators today. On the one hand, Etsy openly states it allows AI. But on the other hand, thousands of sellers are waking up to deactivated listings and entirely suspended shops. There is this massive and honestly wildly misunderstood gap between what is technically allowed on the platform and what's going to get your shop instantly taken down. So, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolute reality of selling AI-assisted products on Etsy in 2026. We are looking directly at the rules, the hidden math that is literally bankrupting cheap sellers, and most importantly, the actual product categories that are still converting today. To really understand the stakes here, we just need to look at this one number, 12,000. That is the approximate number of listings Etsy removed in just the first quarter of 2026 alone, and that's alongside 8,500 warnings. This wasn't some random accident. It was a highly targeted wave of enforcement, primarily aimed at non-disclosure and policy violations. So looking at that absolute carnage, the obvious question you're probably asking is it actually still possible to make money selling digital products? And the answer is absolutely yes, but only if you understand the actual playbook. Okay, let's map out exactly what we're going over today. We've got 5 critical areas to cover: the hidden AI rulebook, enforcement and takedowns, the digital fee trap, the copyright reality, and finally, my favorite part, how to actually win. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the hidden AI rulebook. To really grasp where we are right now, we kind of have to look at how we got here, right? So in January 2026, Etsy started heavily enforcing AI disclosure. Then, in March 2026, a massive legal precedent dropped when the Supreme Court denied review on a major copyright case, which essentially cemented the requirement for human authorship. But actually, the most important shift happened completely silently on June 10, 2025. With absolutely no announcement or grace period, Etsy quietly edited its creativity standards. They deleted a specific phrase that allowed designs based on a templated design. Now it has to be based on a seller's original design, and this explicitly includes digital downloads. A year later, reselling purchased Canva templates or pattern packs is still the #1 reason listings get janked. So, what is actually allowed then? Well, Etsy permits what we like to call directed AI. This basically means you're using your own original prompts, you're guiding the system, curating the output, and making substantive edits. It's your creative input that matters here. What desperate sellers often do, and what is strictly, absolutely banned, is bulk generation. You literally cannot generate hundreds of nearly identical listings from a single prompt pattern with zero curation. And another massive trap people fall into? Selling prompt bundles outright. That's strictly prohibited. Prompts are considered part of your creative process now, not a standalone product you can just package up and sell. Which brings us to mandatory disclosure. How do you actually handle this? Well, Etsy requires a factual sentence, not a marketing pitch, and definitely not an apology to the buyer. You want something compliant, but still conversion-friendly. Something like, designed by me using AI image tools for my own prompts, then reviewed, edited, and assembled by hand into the final files you receive. It hits all the right notes. Just make sure you also set the item attribution to designed by. That keeps you perfectly compliant without scaring off your customers. Moving right along to Section 2, enforcement and takedowns. Let's talk about the 3 most expensive assumptions you can make right now. First off, thinking enforcement is spotty enough that you can just ignore it. Don't do it. Takedowns arrive with 0 warning. Second, and this is absolutely vital, assuming a commercial license somehow makes a template compliant. Remember that June 2025 update we talked about? The issue now is originality, not licensing. A commercial license does not protect you anymore. And third, please, never relist a removed item without changing it. Repeating a violation takes a simple listing removal and escalates it into a full-blown shop suspension. It's just not worth it. So what specifically is getting hit in the crossfire? Print-on-demand shops are taking huge damage for undisclosed AI art right now. Sellers are also losing listings because they're using AI-written descriptions with 0 disclosure, or even text-prompted product mockups. And yes, AI mockups require disclosure too. Even using an AI tool to just add a subtle drop shadow to a product photo triggers the disclosure rule. Now look, automated systems absolutely produce false positives, and it is incredibly frustrating for genuine sellers when entirely handmade work gets flagged. The only real defense you have is documentation. Keep your prompt logs, save those progress screenshots, and hold on to your layer history. So, the absolute crucial takeaway here is this simple 30-second compliance habit before you hit that publish button. Ready? Set attribution to designed by, drop in your disclosure sentence, correctly categorize the item, and save your source files to a dated folder. Those 5 quick checks are infinitely cheaper than losing a shop that has a 2-year sales history attached to it, right? All right, let's get into section 3, the digital fee trap. The math on Etsy's flat fees is honestly pretty brutal. Because they charge flat amounts like that 20-cent listing fee and the 25-cent payment processing fee, they mathematically punish cheap products. If you sell a $1 digital item, your effective fee rate is a staggering 54.5%. You keep just 46 cents. And if that sale happens to come through mandatory off-site ads, you're keeping maybe 30 cents. Selling under $1 isn't running a business, it's basically making a donation to the platform. But look at the jump when you price at $10 or $20. Your fee burden drops all the way down to a very manageable 12 to 14%. To put that into perspective, let's say you want to net $500 in a month. You would need roughly 221 sales at a $3 price point, or you could make just 24 sales at $24. Every single one of those transactions takes the exact same amount of customer service, the same file delivery, and carries the same review risk. The cheap route demands literally 9 times the volume for the exact same amount of money. It's a no-brainer. Next up, Section 4, the copyright reality. Okay, so following that March 2026 Supreme Court decision, the rule is crystal clear. U.S. copyright requires human authorship, period. Prompts alone are generally treated as unprotectable ideas. What does this mean for you? It means your AI-generated images are probably entirely copyable by your competitors. There's no way around it. So where is your defense? Your competitive advantage, your moat, has to sit in the structure of the product, the extreme specificity of the niche, and the quality of your instructions. If a competitor can just replicate your entire product with a single prompt, you don't have a moat, you have a massive vulnerability. Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, how to actually win. Listen, if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, make it this one-sentence test. Run this every single time you open an AI tool. AI is incredibly high leverage for market research, like, say, summarizing 100 reviews to see exactly what buyers are complaining about. It is fantastic for drafting the page logic for a workbook or outlining how lessons should be sequenced. The real value of AI is in structuring the rough work, which you then heavily edit. Bulk listing unedited prompt outputs, that is just a fast track to getting your shop suspended. So, when we look at what still sells beautifully today, categories like workbooks, guided journals, and admin templates absolutely dominate. And why is that? It's because the buyer is paying for utility. They're paying for structure, for specificity. They aren't just buying cheap decoration. An educational printable or a super niche tracker for a specific hobby, that solves a real, tangible problem. But generic AI wall art, come on, the market is completely flooded, prices have totally collapsed, and honestly, the buyers who actually want that stuff usually just generate it themselves anyway. Now, when it comes to getting eyeballs on those high-quality products, your listing craft really matters. You can absolutely use a reusable AI prompt to generate compliant, highly optimized listings. You know, asking it for buyer-focused titles, multi-word tags, factual descriptions. But, and this is a huge but, once the AI generates that text, you must go in and rewrite it in your own human voice. Uniform robotic model phrasing across your entire catalog is a known documented removal signal. It tells the algorithm you're spamming. Let's zoom out a bit and see how this all builds into your broader business strategy. You are making a fundamental trade with Etsy. You give up 10 to 25% of a sale, and in exchange, they give you their search traffic. Now, that is a fantastic deal for your first purchase with a brand new customer, but it is a terrible deal on their 10th purchase. You simply cannot build a permanent business solely on rented ground. You absolutely need an off-platform portfolio, and from day one, you've got to be building an email list. Etsy owns that first sale. You need to own the second. All right, if you are starting today, here is your literal 90-day game plan. First, stop chasing volume. Just stop. Spend your first 10 days researching one very specific buyer and their exact problems. Then, build one real, highly structured product priced above $10. Run your 30-second compliance check and publish just 5 hyper-focused listings serving that exact buyer. From there, read your stats, optimize your images, bundle your best performers to raise your prices, and start capturing those emails. Trust me, 20 perfectly optimized listings will always outperform 200 uploaded and abandoned OMS. Which leaves us with this final, really important question to consider. Are you building a resilient digital business, or are you just renting platform space on borrowed time? The creators who are actually surviving and profiting in 2026 aren't the ones spamming the marketplace with low-effort generations. No way. They're the ones using AI to streamline their research, enhance their structure, and deliver deep, fully compliant value to very specific buyers. So stop chasing the fads, start building your moats, and take true ownership of your business. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.